Cool, the video I didn't want to make part 2. I'm just going to lay out the facts. Now, the author of that guide started from nothing 17 days before the release of Dynacaps. Mine took 6 years. His took 16 days. Halfway through this guide, he publicly showed we were going to use a 206 grade 2 syringe. There were a lot of questions being thrown around. They asked, can we use the grease that you sell? How does it compare to this other grease? He made an admission that he wasn't quite sure how that grease that he sells compares to the grease that he's recommending, my product. A lot of people, not from the keyboard world, saw this video. A lot of questions that would be, that don't connect the dots for people who haven't known my work and haven't been in the community. Let's address those. The obvious thing that people are asking about is, I posted it for free. Isn't that fair game? No. Under US law, copyright is automatic. No notice or registration is required. Free doesn't mean unowned. The choice of grease, how is that mine? Well, because for years, there was only one store selling this 206 grade 2 grease, and that was me. When introduced to 206 grade 2 for the first time, people in his community asked a lot of questions. They didn't know anything about it. They said, where do I get it? I had never heard of it until now. How does this compare to the lubricant that you would normally use, something that is in his inventory? He publicly admitted he didn't know, or he wasn't quite sure about the differences between the lubricant that he's been selling versus the lubricant that he was recommending. He was not quite sure of the differences. So how do you prove where our guide originated? Unfortunately, I can't do what cartographers would do. Poison their information. Bad names, wrong streets, things that didn't exist that would prove that it was a copy. Unfortunately, I didn't anticipate having to trick anyone. In fact, that would be against the entire idea of this guide being available. Instructional writing has trapped streets too. Specific corrections to common mistakes. For years, the entire community said the same thing about stabilizers. Do not overlube them. That advice is wrong. The real problem is under lubrication. Someone asked, can you really overlube your stabilizer bar? And someone chimed in and said, yes, you can. Do not overlube your stabilizer bar. That's simply false. That's why I say it so often. So the community in Dynacaps' Discord was already pushing back on the notion of filling in the space bar and stabilizer bar area, mentioning the biggest creator, Alex Odos, even doesn't follow the instructions that are laid out on the Dynacaps guide. He uses 205 grade 0 on the stabilizers. Omnitype's guide goes against the community's consensus of what is correct, just like mine. I don't know of any other person pushing this idea of maximizing stabilizer bar grease. The same language, the same recommendations, the same correction to the common mistake, the exact phrase, completely fill. The most damning part of all of this is the timeline. This guide was started November 5th with a due date of November 22nd. Let me be very clear about what I'm claiming. This specific guide reproduces my documented work, my techniques, my specific recommendations, my exact phrasing under someone else's name, this isn't speculation. This is a company that launched a premium product line and started a full guide that was supporting the launch. I'm not claiming that anyone can't write their own guide about a keyboard. What I'm claiming is that this specific guide reproduces my documented work, my words, my techniques, my tool under another name. I'll put every documentation, every link, every source I've used in the description for yourself, so you can check them out. What I want hasn't changed at all. I just want my work accredited. This doesn't need to escalate any further than it has. I just want to continue to move on and build keyboards. If you've stayed around for this entire ride, I can't thank you enough. I never intended or expected to reach an audience outside of the keyboard community that would want to see things done right by me. I don't have the words. You've kind of restored my faith in the internet.